the Bentley brand, I suppose, goes back to 1919 when W.O. Bentley decided to turn his stables into a garage and build this extraordinary thing, a horseless carriage, a car. But he'd already actually had a very, very distinguished career in the First World War and had been behind the rotary engine, which actually turned around our fortunes in the First World War. So he was already an engineer with a lot of respect.
The way that the car was engineered to be a long-distance tourer, he also attracted the racing fraternity because it was a very powerful car, and they were all ex-British Army, RFC people who gathered together to race them. So it became a sort of a British sporting mark, really. Yeah.
And of course, the factory at Crewe is in our region, so it's a very special place for us. It is quintessentially British. It's about quality, it's about reliability, it's about a product that's made to order, and it's about performance. It's the very best of what we can do.
I phoned up Joanna and said to her, Joanna, I want to come into your region. We're going to come to the Midlands. We have got other trips planned where we're going to meet with the Midlands, etc. We might not invite you lot again, but we, only joking, but we're going to do it. But the thing is, when she said yes, I thought the North and the South mixing. Are you for real? And I would like to say at this point, please, give her a round of applause. She's amazing. So listen, have a great weekend, everybody, and thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My name's Joanna Way. I'm chairman of the North West region of the Bentley Drivers Club.
And I'm driving a 4.5 litre Bentley. My father had various Bentleys, I think, over the years. He was driving them around in the 50s and 60s, and he had a 4.5 litre Bentley, which was a saloon car.
I've been part of this club since 1985. Basically, I married a Bentley boy. My father was into Alvis's. I had never been in a Bentley in my life until I was picked up in one by my new boyfriend. He says he picked me up in a pub, but actually he picked me up in a Bentley. And so I just thought, this is the most marvellous car, and I've owned them ever since.
There's a picture of me actually with my head in between the passenger seat looking out. I think it was the time when my father actually sold it, around 1970. But that car then went on to be owned by a Bentley Drivers Club member. My father was a Bentley Drivers Club member, and from then on he didn't have much to do with Bentleys after that. But I always remembered that car was sitting in the garage up the road, and we went for this last drive in it before it got sold. So when I had the opportunity to buy one, it was like the car of choice, really. If I could afford it, then that was the one I wanted.
I've had a Mark 6, an R-Type, and now I've got a beautiful GT Continental. I did own a lovely 4.25 overdrive, a 1939 car, James Young Razor Edge, and I'm seeing it tomorrow. I'm being reunited because, by pure coincidence, the lady who now owns this car owns the hotel we're going to for lunch tomorrow. So I'm going to be reunited with this car. It'll be quite an emotional moment.
It started life in down in Cricklewood, which is where all the old WOs were made, and then it was sold to a guy called James Archdale in Birmingham, who made machine tools. But in 1935 it went to South Africa.
You go back, I grew up with fast Fords, Austins, anything else I could get my hands on, whatever motorbikes we could. And Gradually over the years we've improved the models. I've had some nice cars probably since my 40th birthday. We got on. And then about 12 years ago I bought the first Bentley. And then in the 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago maybe, we bought the Turbo R.
So mine is a 2008 GT Speed Mulsanne spec. Everything I wanted. Took me a year to find it. It's bright red, St James's red, and I am of course a Liverpool supporter, so really couldn't have a blue one. And it's just the most lovely car. Yes, it does take some looking after. There are maintenance issues always with a high performance car, but if you look after them, they are much more reliable than you think.
Many years later, it turned up in Rhodesia. So it's actually made from a couple of cars. So there was a famous racing driver in South Africa called Ralph Rohr, and apparently he had a 4.5 litre Bentley. I think there were 4 in South Africa, and he had blown up his engine once and taken the 4.5 litre from another car, and unfortunately he had an accident in Johannesburg, so the chassis was a bit bent, so he stopped driving that particular car. But the chassis from Rhodesia and the engine and other parts from Ralph Rohr's car were put together to make the one I'm driving today. And it has the original bodywork style, because Van den Pla have the original record was available for what it looked like originally, so they put the same bodywork on it.
We both had good upbringings. Kath did her degree straight from school. I went to do an apprenticeship. After my apprenticeship I went on to do a degree part-time. 2 years after I finished that we became chartered engineer. And it's just been basically hard work's got us where we were. I was made redundant in 2009 and I set my own company up. And we haven't looked back since really. Last year we decided we'd take a step back. And we've been semi-retired, stroke permanently retired since. I would say there's been 2 trips that stand out.
We did a Welsh tour. I think it was the first year that we had the Bentley. We joined in with a tour in North Wales, and driving around the North Wales coast was an exciting trip, especially as I was still getting the hang of the gear changes. And then I suppose one of the funniest moments was last year when we went to Norfolk and we were touring along the coast. And I think a family had come out of the cafe and had near the campsite and had their breakfast. And as we were driving through the village, they were standing at the side of the road cheering and waving. This is about 9 o'clock in the morning.
And the other one was last year when we went to Monaco. Go on then, your turn.
Well, it was a classic Grand Prix, wasn't it? So we hadn't been to anything like that before. We just turned up, did as we were told. But yeah, fantastic. Lovely to stay in the Fairmont Hotel, wasn't it? Dinners organised and events. Very good arrangements for seeing the Grand Prix.
This is one of the best, actually. You know, I'm a glass half full person. It's now that counts. And look at it, it's absolutely wonderful. And I'm so pleased that it's actually on our patch. It's in the northwest. This is Morecambe. Can you imagine if this bay was on the Amalfi Coast? Can you imagine how the town would have been developed and looked after? And this is the most gorgeous situation. You've got the Lakeland District Hills over there, the whole of the bay. It's beautiful in this lovely Art Deco hotel. I love Art Deco. It's been very sensitively restored, but most importantly, they can park us all and look after our cars. So we have between 45 and 50 cars because there are more people coming and going, and they've been able to park us all at the front.
I think it's a very friendly club, isn't it? I mean, Mike has been in other clubs that we haven't really wanted to stay in, have we?
No.
This one's definitely the club for us. A lot of friendly people. As I say, it doesn't matter what car you've got, people have got this common interest. But also they do organise good trips and ways of getting to meet people, and it's just a lovely experience. Things we probably wouldn't do on our own, but we can do with the club. And you know, a dinner in an evening, you will sit with different people each meal, and it just you have that good social interaction. When we went to Scotland, one of the cars developed a wobble on the wheel, didn't they?
He'd come up from London, and it took the side roads of Scotland to make the car wobble.
So yeah, but as he pulled into the garage, the rest of us, following as we normally do, somebody who knows the route, ended up with a car park full
Bentleys.
of Bentleys. I can't even remember which garage it was. You probably remember.
No, it's
But,
just a little garage stuck in the middle of nowhere.
And then it's got the forecourt full of Bentleys while we all wait to determine what's going to happen to this one car. Yeah. In the end, it was just to change the tyre over with the spare, wasn't it? So it was nothing serious, but.
Yeah, the reason we think the friendships between the Bentley owners have been fantastic for the simple reason that we're like-minded people. Like this one here, you're thinking, what am I doing with a cloth in my hand and cleaning the screen? Ever since I've been on these events, I get up in the morning and go round as a little surprise. They all come down and find their screens all nice and clean. And I do this just for the crack of it. And they all think I'm crazy for doing it, but it's not because of any other reason. I just like cleaning the cars. I just like seeing them sparkle. So of course, it's fantastic. So when I clean them, they all come down, they think the fairies have been and cleaned their cars, but it's me. They will now find out who's doing it. But yeah, the friendships have been fantastic because it's given you a chance to meet different people of all ages, country, class, colour, creed, and of course, the array of different Bentleys here, it's the same mark. But I don't think there is another mark in history that has this different amount of cars, models. And that's what makes it different. And everybody will look at one of these cars and think, well, I like that one, I like that, I like that. And everyone has a favourite. And that is what makes it special. And because of that, our relationship with their owners have been superfluous. It's been fantastic, yeah. For me personally, I've always been a petrol head. I've always had cars. I've had Mustangs, British cars, Mustangs being American. I've always had a love for cars, but I never owned a Bentley. And one day I just woke up and I thought, time is passing, I want a Bentley. And I went to buy one of the new Mulsannes. This was the first Bentley I ever bought. And it was a new Mulsanne, and it never come off. And one of the guys phoned me up and said, I've just bought you a car. I said, I haven't seen it. He said, I don't care if you've seen it or not. When you see it, you're going to want this car. My daughter and I went to Surrey to a railway station. She said, Dad, how do you know if you're going to see the car? How will you recognise it? I said, he said that I will know it. And as soon as it come round the corner, my eyes dropped, my wallet fell out my pocket and I paid for it. And it was brilliant. He said, don't give me the money when you want to give it to me. I said, I want to give it to you now in case you change your mind. And that was it. That was the first Bentley, of course. For me, it was quite strange. I was one of the unfortunate that really went through the COVID. I was in intensive care for 5 weeks in hospital. And it was a big major move for us, for a family, and as for a club, and as for a chairman, because obviously you try to do the best thing you can for the club and your members. And for me, being in hospital and I come out paralysed from the waist down, which is exactly the story you hear on TV, but you don't realise until you actually, somebody you know yourself goes through it. So yeah, so I really believe one of the best achievements I've made got through COVID and still here today to tell you about it. So I'm quite proud and pleased for that one as well. Yeah.
People I've met in the Bentley Club, I would say I've met, first of all, they are enthusiasts. Yeah. They like the cars, they like the marks. It's a car you can actually afford to buy. You can get a good second-hand Bentley cheaper than you can buy a modern Ford Focus.
So there's a great social atmosphere in the club. There's events going on every month. and there's things going on all over the country, so you can join in with any other region's events. And also, if you wanted to go to America or Japan, Bentley Drivers Club have got groups in those countries as well, and they would welcome you to visit and you know, join in with their events as well.
Be a member and be part of it. Don't sit back. There's various people join this club. They like the magazine, the glossy magazine, they like the communication, they like them things. And I say, get involved, because these people are actually good people.
What's different about this club is we don't ask too many questions. We're just interested in the cars. We never talk about religion, we never talk about politics, we never talk about business worries, and we all have business worries, don't we? We try not to think about the state of the economy. We just talk about cars. We just focus on the sheer enjoyment of owning these lovely cars while we can own them. You may not have one for a lifetime. It may just be something that's the reward for a lifetime's hard work. Or it could be something that you've had for a long, long time. But everybody invests a lot in the car that they have, not just on financially, but invests a lot of interest and belief, if you like, in their car ownership. There is more to owning a Bentley, you're absolutely right, and that is possibly the reason why the marque attracts so much loyalty. We do lose people occasionally to other marques, and almost invariably they come back. And I think because there is nothing like driving a Bentley.
Nobody else nobody else does it.
Nobody else comes close for the range of cars, the mileage you can actually put on a car, because many of these cars in this club now are knocking 300,000, 400,000 miles, some of the older ones, and they're still going, and they'll be going when we're not here anymore.
When you buy a Bentley, you do not so much choose the Bentley chooses you, because that's why there's so many different types, and that's why some of them have more than one Bentley, because it's what they do. And that would be my statement on that. It's everything about it. The Bentley chooses you, not so much you choose the Bentley. Yeah.
Now, we are due to go all electric from 2025. In fact, the engine that I've got in my car, that will not be made anymore after this year. So we are keeping up with the times. It won't be the first luxury electric car on the road, but it will be beautifully engineered, thought through, considered, and the very best of the best. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.